On-Chain fam, what's going on? Welcome back to another Whiteboard Wednesday video. This is number 6. We're going to be talking about programming basics. My goal for today, a lot like last week's video, there was a lot of great feedback, and what my goal for that video was for you guys to be able to sit down and write out specifically what you needed to do as an individual. And much the same for today, my goal is just like that. I'd love for you guys to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen, follow along, and write out the program that I've got written on this board. And I'm confident that no matter if you're a beginner, you're intermediate, or you're advanced, I don't think this program would be the best for an advanced lifter, but I do believe that a lot of the movements that I have here are definitely things that even an advanced lifter should have in their program. So it's something that if you are advanced, it's something that you can come back to, see if you need to polish up your program, or if there's things that you could add in order to make your program a little more well-rounded. So what I would like for you, like I said, if you could get a piece of paper and follow along with me, I'm going to lay out a 4-day-a-week training split. I'm going to give you the exact movements that I would like you guys to do, and then at the end I'm going to go over the progressions for your intensities and volume. Day number 1, if you can read this, if you're viewing it on your computer, that's perfect. If you're on your phone or the writing is just simply too small, I'm going to take a second and just go through the 6 movements for day 1. Day 1 is going to be your pushing day. Okay? So, movement number 1, shoulder press. Movement number 2 is going to be a bench press. Movement number 3 is going to be an isolation shoulder movement. Movement number 4 is going to be an isolation chest movement. And then movements number 5 and 6 are going to be elbow extensor. So a movement that extends the elbow, otherwise known as a tricep movement. The reason that we want a shoulder and a bench press is because I would like to see you do a vertical press as well as a horizontal press. These can be done with barbells, dumbbells. If your gym has a cable machine or just a machine in general, plate-loaded machine, that is fine. I would always like to see you work with a barbell or a dumbbell over a machine, but always do what you can with what you've got. Isolation shoulder movement, movement number 3. These could be lateral raises, front raises. You could do a rear delt movement here. Isolation chest movements. This could be cable crosses. This could be a specific dumbbell movement that isolates the chest. You could also do the pec deck machine or any other chest machine that isolates your pecs. Movements number 5 and 6, again, will be elbow extensor. These could look like straight bar extensions, rope extensions, tricep dips. Anything that extends the elbow, add 2 of those movements in. So your 6 movements for day 1 should be shoulder press, bench press, an isolation shoulder movement, an isolation chest movement, and 2 movements that extend the elbow, 2 tricep movements. So those will be your 6 for day 1. Day 2 is going to be a lower body day. The 6 movements that I'd like you to write down would be number 1, squat, then deadlift or RDL. Number 3 is going to be a lunge. 4 will be good morning. 5 would be leg extension. And 6 would be a calf movement. Now, squat. You can do a back squat, you can do a front squat. There's lots of different forms. Also, if you are not comfortable taking a squat through a full range of motion, always train through a partial range of motion until you can control your body and until you're confident to move through a full range of motion. And the same thing goes for the next movement, deadlift. If you cannot complete a deadlift from the floor, you can do them from pins or from blocks. And you can do it as a partial range of movement until you're confident pulling from the floor. I'm not super gung-ho on whether you do deadlifts from the floor or you do RDLs. RDLs are going to stress the hamstrings a bit more. Movement number 3 is going to be lunges. You could do these with barbells or dumbbells. Again, if you were pretty advanced, I would say you could do overhead barbell lunges. Not something I would prescribe for a beginner. Movement number 4, good mornings. You can switch your stance. You could do a narrow stance, you could do shoulder width, you could also do something sumo stance and toe out a little bit, so you can change your stance up for this movement. There's quite a few hamstring and glute movements on this lower body day, so I would really like to see you stress the quads with a leg extension movement. And then the sixth movement will be calf raises. You could do these seated, you could do them standing. It doesn't much matter to me. I would like these to be loaded. If you're just doing body weight calf raises, that's not going to stress the system enough to force it to adapt. So this is definitely a movement where you're going to want to perform them weighted. So the 6 movements on your lower body day would be squat, deadlift, lunge, good morning, leg extension, calf raise. Moving on to your pulling day, day 3. I would love for you guys to be able to do pull-ups. I'm also aware that not everyone can do them. So a substitute for doing pull-ups 1 would be to do them assisted. So if you have a band that you could use to assist your pull-ups, if you belong to a gym that has an actual machine that allows you to do pull-ups assisted, that's great. If not, the substitute for that would be some form of a lat pull-down machine or a lat pull-down cable. That's movement number 1. Movement number 2 would be a barbell rowing movement. Number 3 would be dumbbell pullovers. If you can't or aren't comfortable doing dumbbell pullovers, you can also substitute this for a cable pullover. So very similar movement, just done with a cable. And the movement number 5 is going to be inverted rows. This is also a movement where if you can complete inverted rows very easily, you can add weight. You can always add weight to a lot of these basic foundational movements. So you could put weight on your chest and perform the inverted row that way. And then the movements number 5 and 6 are going to be elbow flexor, otherwise known as bicep movements. So I always like to put my elbow flexor or my bicep movements on my pulling day, and on my pushing day, I'm always going to want my tricep movements or my elbow extensor movements. So a couple different examples of elbow flexor movements would be a barbell curl. You could do dumbbell curls, hammer curls, preacher curls, cable curls, hundreds of combinations. I just want you to do 2 movements that flex the elbow. Now moving on to day 4. This is going to be your core or your athletic day. I understand that athletic is a very arbitrary term. The point that I want you to get from this is I want at least 2 of your movements to be done that force you to be athletic and force you to move. A lot of these movements you're standing in place and you're moving one part of your body. You know, the closest thing we get to the really compound movements would be like a squat. And even then, your body's not in fluid motion. So 2 of the movements on your day 4, I would love to see you add in box jumps, agility ladder, dot drill, sled pushes or pulls, something that causes you to move more. So the 6 movements that I have for you on this day, movement number 1, I want 2 trunk flexion movements and I want 2 trunk extension movements. So movement 1, these first 2 will be trunk flexion, kneeling weighted crunches. So the same place where you would do tricep extensions, you can grab a mat, throw a mat on the ground, take the rope over top of your head, and add weight to a crunch movement. Number 2, knee raises. So you can do these hanging from a bar, you can do them in the actual arm holds and do knee raises. You can throw a weight in your feet or you can do them banded. Movement number 3 are going to be hyperextensions. Movement number 4 are Supermans. And then the 2 movements that I have for you for your athletic movements will be jumping rope and box jumps. These are going to be relative. So if you're extremely good at jumping rope, you might need to go for 60 seconds. And there's different things that you can be doing, double unders. And again, with box jumps, if you're very beginner, you don't need to be jumping up on a 30-inch box. Start with what's relatively difficult for you, and then we'll progress you. So the 6 movements are kneeling weighted crunches, knee raises, those are your 2 trunk flexion, hyperextensions and Supermans, those are your 2 trunk extension, trunk flexion, then trunk extension, and then your 2 athletic movements, jumping rope and box jumps. Now, you have 4 days, you have 6 movements each day. What is the volume or what is the intensity that you need to be training at? Those are things I don't think you need to stress too much about. So my very, very basic recommendations would be to start out with 2 to 3 sets and 8 to 12 repetitions, and your rest period should be as long as you need to. If you need 30 seconds in between each set, rest 30 seconds. If you need a minute or two, maybe on something like a squat or a deadlift, something that taxes you a little bit more, take a minute or two. Now the progression, let's say you start out week 1 and you're a very beginner, I would love to see you start at 2 sets of 12 repetitions, and then your progression over the next, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks, I would like to see you start progressing towards 3 sets on all of these movements, and then I would actually like to see your repetitions decrease as you progress. And the reason for that is as you progress, starting out at 12 reps in maybe week 1, and you progress towards 8 reps, what I want you to do as you progress from 12 to 8 is I would like to see the weight or the intensity on the bar, I would like to see that go up. So those are your very basic recommendations for rep and set schemes and rest period. You now have an entire 4-day-a-week program. You've got 6 movements a day. You know how many sets and how many reps you need to be doing as well as the rest period. So you now are set to go. You're set to make progress. If you have any other questions or concerns about this specific split or movements that you can or cannot do, things that you need to be adding in, as always, comment, message me. I got lots of emails, messages, and people commenting on the feed. That's great. I always try to respond to everyone and give the best input that I can. So hopefully this is a great place, a great foundation for you to start. And again, as always, it's a place for you to start and then ask questions. Start and then say, well, this isn't working for me. You have to start somewhere. So if nothing else, you've got a place to start. You've got a 4-day-a-week split. I hope this helps you to progress. If you have any questions, again, comment, message, email, and I will get to them. Like this and share this if it was beneficial. If there's someone that you know that needs a place to start, tag them in this so that they have a place to start. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Follow our social media, Unchained Potential. Mitch is going to be Unchained Physio. Also, shout out to Mitch. He got his results back from his boards, and he is now Mitch Babcock PT DPT. So congratulations, Mitch. All of his social media is going to be Unchained Physio. Mine is all going to be Unchained Potential. And the new website is www.unchainedpotential.net. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay unchained.